you're ever going to do a book on Steve, you'd better do it now. He had just taken a second medical leave. I confessed to her that when he had first raised the idea, I hadn't even known he was sick.
I confessed to her that when he had first raised the idea, I hadn't known he was sick.
Almost nobody knew,
Almost nobody knew, she said.
He said. He had called me right before he was going to be operated on for cancer.
He had called me right before he was going to be operated on for a cancer.
He was still keeping it secret, she explained.
And he was still keeping it a secret, she explained.
I decided then to write this book.
I decided then to write this book.
Jobs surprised me by readily acknowledging that he would have no control over it, or even the right to see it in advance.
Jobs surprised me by readily acknowledging that he would have no control over it, or even the right to see it in advance.
It's your book, he said.
It's your book, he said.
I won't even read it.
I won't even read it.
But later that fall, he seemed
But later that fall, he seemed
to have second thoughts about cooperating, and
to have second thoughts about cooperating.
though I didn't know it, he was hit by another round of
And though I didn't know it,
cancer complications. He
was hit by another round of cancer complications.
stopped returning my calls,
He stopped returning my calls.
and I put the project aside for a while.
And I put the project aside for a while.
Then, unexpectedly, he phoned me late on the afternoon of New Year's Eve of 2009.
Then, unexpectedly, he phoned me late on the afternoon of New Year's Eve, 2009.
He was at home in Palo Alto with
He was at home in Palo Alto
only his sister,
with only his sister,
the writer Mona Simpson,
the writer Mona Simpson,
his wife and their 3 children.
His wife and their 3 children
Had taken a quick trip to go
had taken a quick trip to go skiing,
but he was not healthy enough to join them.
but he was not healthy enough to join them.
He was in a reflective mood, and
He was in a reflective mood,
we talked for more than an hour.
and we talked for more than an hour.
He began by recalling that he had wanted to build a frequency counter.
He began by recalling that he had wanted to build a frequency counter when he was 12.
When he was 12, and he was able to look up Bill Hewlett, the founder
And he was able to look up Bill Hewlett,
of HP, and
the founder of HP,
the phone book, and call him to get parts.
in the phone book and call him to get parts.
Jobs said the past 12 years of his life, since
Jobs said that the past 12 years of his life,
his return to Apple,
since his return to Apple,
had been his most productive in terms of creating new products.
had been his most productive in terms of creating new products.
But his more important goal, he said, was to do what Hewlett and his friend David Packard had done.
Was to do what Hewlett and his friend David Packard had done.
Which was to create a company that was so imbued with innovative creativity that it would outlive them.
That it would outlive them.
I always thought of myself myself as a humanities person as a kid, but I
as a humanities person as a kid,
liked electronics,
but I liked electronics,
he said.
he said.
Then I read something that one of my heroes,
Then I read something that one of my hero,
Edwin Land of Polaroid,
Edwin Land of Polaroid,
said about the importance of people who could stand at the
said about the importance of people who could stand at the intersection of humanities
intersection of humanities and sciences.
and sciences.
And I decided that's what I wanted to do.
And I decided that's what I wanted to do.
It was as if he were suggesting themes for his
It was as if he were suggesting themes for his biography.
And in this case, at least,
instance at least,
the theme turned out to be valid.
The theme turned out to be valid.
The creativity that can occur when
the creativity that can occur
a feel for both the
when a feel for both the humanities
and the sciences combine in one strong personality was a topic that most interested me in my biographies of Franklin and Einstein. And I believe that it will be a key to creating innovative economies in the 21st century. I asked Jobs why he wanted me to be the one to write his biography.
I asked Jobs why he wanted me to be the one to write his biography.
I think you're good at getting people to talk.
I think you're good at getting people to talk,
he replied.
He replied.
That was an unexpected answer.
That was an unexpected answer.
I knew that I would have to interview scores of people he had fired, abused, abandoned, or otherwise infuriated. And I feared he would not be comfortable with me getting them to talk.
With my getting them to talk.
And indeed, he did turn out to be.
And indeed, he did turn out to be
skittish when word trickled back to him.
Skittish when word trickled back to him.
Of people that I was interviewing. But after a couple of months, he began encouraging people to talk to me. Even foes and former girlfriends. Nor did he try to put anything off limits. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of.
I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of.
Such as getting my girlfriend pregnant when I was 23 and the way I...
Such as getting my girlfriend pregnant when I was 23 and the way I handled that.
Handled that.
He said.
But I don't have any skeletons in my closet that can't be allowed out. He didn't seek any control over what I wrote, or even
any control over what I wrote.
Even asked to read it in advance. His only involvement came when my publisher was...
His only involvement came when my publisher was
choosing the cover art.
the cover art.
When he saw an early version of a proposed cover treatment,
When he saw an early version of a proposed cover treatment,
he disliked it so much
he disliked it so much
that he asked to have input in
that he asked to have input in designing
designing a new version.
a new version.
I was both amused and willing, so I readily assented.
I was both amused and willing, so I readily assented.
I ended up having more than 40 interviews and
I ended up having more than 40 interviews and conversations
conversations with him.
with him.
Some were formal runs in his Palo Alto living room.
Some were formal ones in his Palo Alto living room.
Others were done during long walks and drives.
Others were done during long walks and drives
Or by telephone.
or by telephone.
During my 2 years of visits,
During my 2 years of visits,
he became increasingly intimate and
he became increasingly intimate and revealing,
revealing, though at times I witnessed
though at times I witnessed
what his veteran
what his veteran colleagues
colleagues at Apple
at Apple
used to call his
used to call his
reality distortion field.
reality distortion field.
Sometimes it was the inadvertent misfire
Sometimes it was the inadvertent misfiring of memory
of memory cells that
cell that happens
happens to us all.
to us all.
At other times, he was spinning his own version of reality,
At other times, he was spinning his own version of reality, both to me and to himself.
both to me and to himself. To check and flesh out his story,
To check and flesh out his story,
I interviewed more than 100 friends,
I interviewed more than 100 friends, relatives,
relatives, competitors,
competitors,
adversaries, and
adversaries,
colleagues.
and colleagues.
His wife also did not request any restrictions or
His wife also did not request any restrictions
control, nor did
or control,
she ask to see in advance what I would publish.
nor did she ask to see in advance what I would publish.
In fact, she strongly encouraged me to be
In fact, she strongly encouraged me
honest about his
to be honest about his failings,
failings as well as about his strengths.
as well as his strengths.